So in this video, I'm going to be explaining the useState hook. And as seen here, the useState hook comes from React. So what this line is saying is import React and import something called useState hook from React. The curly braces over here means that this useState hook must be spelled as it is. So for React, you can name it whatever you want, but for this useState hook, it must be spelled exactly like this. That is why it's inside curly braces. So I'm just going to explain what we're seeing here. Let me start from the app.js. In the app.js, all that is here is a normal app.js function, a functional component, and it has a counter inside. And this counter inside, all it is a component that we've created here. And this component here is made up of three things: two buttons and a number. So as seen on the left side of the screen, we have two buttons, a plus button and a minus button, a plus button and a minus button, and a number in between. So what we want to achieve in this app is when you click on plus, this number goes up, meaning it goes 1, 2, 3, 4 each time we click this. And then each time we click on the other button, it goes down, -1, -2, -3. That's what it does. That's what we want to achieve. And we're going to achieve this by using the useState hook. And useState hook is a hook used for state management in React. So what is a state of an app? The state of an app is the way the app looks. What this means is that right now, the way this app looks is that it has two buttons, a plus and a minus button, and a number in between. That is the state of this app. If we want the state of this app to change in any way, and we're using React, we have to use the useState hook. So if we want to dynamically change the way this app looks, like what we're seeing on screen, we have to use the useState hook because that is what manages the state in React. So if we want to change anything on screen with JavaScript, we have to use the useState hook. That's when we're working with React. So as I mentioned before, what we want to achieve is that when we press any of these buttons, something changes in this number. So what we're now going to do now is we're going to create an array. We're going to use destructuring. I don't know if you remember what destructuring is, but I'm just going to explain what I will type. So even if you don't know what destructuring is, you should be able to follow along with the tutorial. So what I just did now is I wrote const and I created an array. And this array has two variables. Leave the error for now, we're going to fix that. It has two things written inside the array, two items. The first item is a number, or is something called number. And this thing called number is a constant. So you can just see it like a variable, like the way you create a normal variable, like variable number is equals to something. That's what this first number is. It's just like a variable, just like a constant. As you can see, say constant number. And what set number is a function. And what this set number does is that when we call this set number function, which is written inside here, it is used to change the value of this number. So let me just complete the line so I will remove the error. So what I did now is I called this useState, and this useState is a function that we're calling, and the function comes from useState in React. If we press Ctrl and click on useState, we can now see how the useState function is created. And as you can see, this is where it is created: function useState. So as you can see, this useState is a function. So all we're doing here is we're just calling the useState function, and this useState function takes a parameter, right? And this parameter can be any data type. It can be a boolean, a number. We can put 0 here, we can put true here, we can put true here, we can equally put false here. It works. But what you should understand is that whatever you put inside, so in this case we're going to put 0, whatever we're going to put inside these useStates now will be what will be saved inside this number variable. As you can see, that there are different colors. This blue number, what is showing you, this blue color rather, is showing you that this is different from what set number is. So this is a normal constant, a normal variable, while set number is a function we're going to call later to do something. Then we're calling useState and we're giving it a parameter, and this parameter is just 0. So this entire line of code, what it's doing is that it's creating a constant called number, and this number is equals to 0, which is the parameter of the useState. Then this set number is a function that we're going to use later to change the value of this number. So in this case, you can see that number is equals to 0. When we use set number, we'll put set number, call the function, and do something to this number to change what this number is. So I can equally, instead of putting 0 here, I can put number, since number is equals to 0. And if I just put number here as it is, it won't work. The reason why it won't work is that although this looks like JavaScript code, what is inside here is not actually JavaScript, it's HTML. So what the computer is reading this thing as is just an H1 with number inside. That's what it's reading it as. So we have to tell JavaScript or tell our computer that this number is actually a constant or actually a variable. And we do that by putting curly braces. What it now does is that it goes to look for this number, and it's, if you press Control and click on the number, it takes to where that number is, and you can see it's here. So what it's doing is that whatever is inside this number, right, is going to be what is put here. So as you can see, it's 0. So meaning that this number here is equals to wherever it's put inside the useState hook. So I hope that's clear. So what we're now going to do now is that we're going to put event listeners on each of the buttons. So we do that with the onClick attribute. OnClick, and here we're going to put minus handler, and we're going to do the same to the other button, onClick. We're going to put plus handler. So if you know anything about event listeners in React, what we're basically doing is we're later going to create functions. So this onClick is going to look for a function called minus handler. The same thing with this onClick is going to look for a function called plus handler. So let's create those functions. So we're going to write const. We're creating the functions now, minus handler, right? I'm going to equate it to a function. So we're going to equate it to a function. Mind you, this minus handler can be written this way. You can write function minus handler. So it can be written in any of these ways, but I prefer the other because that's what I'm used to. The same way I wrote it here. So if you are used to this way, you can write it this way or write it the way I wrote it. It's exactly the same thing. So I just created a function called minus handler. But in this case, what I'm just going to do is I'm going to create a constant, right? Constant minus handler. Then I'm going to equate it to a function. It's exactly the same thing. There's no difference. So I've created a function. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another function. So one is called minus handler, and the other one is going to be called plus handler. So far we can see that in our code there are no errors. If we check our terminal, all that is telling us is that set number is assigned a value but never used. So I've not used set handler here. I've just created the function. Sorry, set number, not set handler, set number. So inside the minus handler, all we're going to do now is we're going to use set number. And as I said, the set number function we created here, this is a number or a constant or a variable, while this other item in the array is a function. So we're going to set number, and what we're going to do set number is that we're going to change what this number variable is. As I said before, this set number is used to change whatever this number variable is. So right now, this number variable, this number constant, right, is equals to 0, as I mentioned earlier. But now we're going to use this set number to change whatever is inside this number variable or inside this number constant. So what we're now going to do is that we're going to set number. We're going to change it to number minus 1. So that's what we're going to do here. and inside here we're going to do the exact same thing. But what we're going to do is that we're going to put number. The here will be number plus 1. So far what our code is doing is that we've created what we did here is called the structure in JavaScript, and what this does is that we're equating this number here to be equal to whatever is inside this useState. This useState can be anything, as I mentioned. It's the parameter inside useState can be anything, as I mentioned. You can put true. So right now what is going to show here is nothing, because it's a boolean, and a boolean will not show anything, it's just empty. Or we can change it to a string, and if we change it to a string and it's high, what will show here is high, because right now what number is, this number now is equals to high, and since we put number here, it will show high. So right now I'm just going to put it back to 0. Then this set number, what set number is doing is that it's changing what this number is. So right now this number is 0, and what we're doing now, we're changing the number, we're setting the number to be number minus 1. So if I click on this button, sorry, I need to refresh. If I click on this button, what happens? The number goes down. If I click on this button, the number goes up. So as you can see, everything works. And the only reason why we can change the state of the app, as I mentioned before, the state of the app is how the app looks. So the only reason why we can change the state of the app is because of we're using the useState. So that's how, this is just a basic understanding or basic explanation of how the useState hook works in React.